So Johnny Somali has, he's already been sent to prison, right? And we found out in the last video he's getting 6 months. Um, Everybody thought that was way too, soon, way too little, of time. Definitely, I thought that was way too little of time, but I was taking it. He's gonna get hard labor as well. But it seems here that one of the victims, BongBong, has appealed the judgment. So Johnny Somali may be getting more than 6 months. He may be getting a full year. We have a video here by Legal Mindset. Links will be in the description below. So let's check them out. Let's get it.
Johnny Somali's detention time in Korea may double as his victim, BongBong, is ready to drop an appeal. We're going to get into that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. This is a fast facts video, the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. So as you guys know, Johnny Somali Ramzi Khalid Ismail, the Cabbage Boy, was found guilty on all charges in Seoul, South Korea, and sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor. He also received an additional 20 days of detention on top of that, and he has 5 years of offender status and also had his phones permanently confiscated. Now,
he has to register in Korea as an S offender, and that status will be there for 5 years, bro. Ooh.
We have been calling for and pushing for an appeal, and the prosecution has 7 days from that verdict, from that sentencing, to actually pursue an appeal and ask for a longer sentence. There's now 5 days remaining, and we have some big news as we come towards and up to that deadline. But before I get into that news, make sure you guys have got your cabbage plushies. They are still available now. You can get them at the link in the description and the link in the pinned comments. They are super soft, super cute, and they absolutely enrage Cabbage Boy Ramzi Khalid Ismail, Johnny Somali. So get your cabbages now. All right. So Somali's victim, BongBong, is indeed the one that is turning the tables on him. And for those that don't know, BongBong, who she goes by BongBong IRL, is a streamer, and she's one of the streamers that interacted with Johnny Somali when he was first in Korea. And that was a point at which we didn't know how Johnny Somali was going to go, what type of content he was going to make, because Johnny Somali oscillates. He goes between making wildly offensive content to actually making pretty tame, chill content. So there's points at which in Johnny Somali's career where he actually tried to be a normal human being and tried to actually make kind of okay, all right, just perfectly fine, non-offensive IRL content.
I cannot believe that is actually a thing. There was a point in his life, in his career, where he just wanted to he tried to make normal content. Just like normal content. Was this before he was doing, his Johnny Somali thing, his toxic shit? Or was it like a period of time after he did it? And then he found out that it didn't work out. It wasn't like the community he already built was off him being toxic, so he went right back to it. Like, which one was it?
And there was a point at which when he interacted with BongBong IRL, they made pretty decent content. There was nothing crazy or offensive about it. But the problem is that he took scenes like this, scenes where they were just together hanging out, and transformed them into deepfakes. He did this with multiple footage and scenes with her and showed those on his live streams. And we have one example here where he claims she is his girlfriend.
Look at this. Let me show you my girlfriend. You want to see my girlfriend? Look at this. I have a Korean girlfriend. I don't know why you guys want to attack me. Even I have a Korean girlfriend. She's a streamer. BongBong IRL. This is my girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. This is my girlfriend. BongBong IRL. I have a Korean girlfriend. Why are you attacking me?
And this is a massive problem because, first of all, after this, he goes on after this and shows these deepfakes where they're making out, where they're kissing, etc.
Oh, man. I mean, he already, lied again, saying this is my girlfriend. He obviously, well, I don't know about Korea, but in America, can somebody sue you for that? It's like a false allegation.
and he plays those for everybody and represents that. And it's a time at which he was attacking the Comfort Woman statue, which represented underage children in Korea. So at a time in which he was assaulting this, he was making moves that were provocative, vile, and knowingly, by the way, he knew that that statue represented underage children, and he went up and did things to it, made references to Diddy, Epstein, etc. All of those things, poured baby oil on the statue. He was doing that and then using BongBong as a shield. So BongBong was getting a lot of hate, a lot of vitriol, a lot of stuff directed at her based on her association with Johnny Somali. So she got an insane amount of hate, pushback, and all this.
I can imagine, because he's like a tiny terrorist in their country, or maybe not a terrorist. Maybe terrorist is too much of a word. A tiny annoyance in their country that is like trying his best to piss them off for attention. And since they're mad at him, he's trying to be like, "Oh no, I have a Korean girlfriend. You can't be mad at me." And that was to them, it's like, what's wrong with you? Why would you date someone like this? Do you not care for your own people? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I can imagine she would slightly become some type of outcast. You know what I'm saying? In her own community, in her, again, amongst her own people, for what Johnny Somali did, and it wasn't even like that between them. That's just, I'd be pissed too.
This other stuff from Koreans because she was a Korean that was associating with Johnny Somali, and that was absolutely horrible. It was a hell for her, and she never wanted to go through that again. So what she did was she filed a deepfake charge against him, and that indeed was one that he was convicted on. There were two separate deepfake charges, and one of which, as you see here, was BongBong, and BongBong indeed got that conviction. Now, one thing is, people were saying, okay, well, how did she feel about this? Well, you can see kind of when she went to court how she presented, because we have this this response here, and this is actually from after her court date.
Final lawyer, the court judge asked, do you want him to be punished? So I say yes. Because of all the thing I experienced, get through, something like that. That's what I said.
So you can see here, BongBong, she's not displaying a lot of emotion. She's kind of serious. And a lot of people took that with her as saying, okay.
And obviously English isn't her first language, so she was probably taking her time translating things in her head to make sure she said what she needed to say. That's how serious she was. Wanted to make sure she got her point across perfectly.
Well, she knows she's not deeply hurt by that, but she indeed was hurt by that. And she was so hurt, she hired a lawyer to go ahead and intervene in this case and actually push for an extreme punishment. And after the verdict, we now have just now breaking news that that lawyer indeed, and that lawyer representing BongBong, has said they are not satisfied with that. And the excuse that they gave, that she was not sad enough, was not okay. So I'm going to read this statement from attorney Lee Dun-ho of the Nova.
Okay. So after the trial, and they said, all right, well, we're only going to give you 6 months because your case against BongBong, she doesn't seem sad enough to fully, enact the punishment that you would get from that charge. And BongBong said, hell nah. That's no. I went through some shit. I felt some type of way. I felt some type of shit. I had to go through some harsh shit. I want punishment. And so she hired a lawyer to be like, hold up, wait. Let me go ahead and we gotta pause this right quick, because my client BongBong has said it feels that the punishment is not harsh enough, and I agree that the reason for taking away her part of the her charge for her not being sad enough is far too wrong. It's completely unfair. She went through some shit. She's sad enough, so bam, they're gonna increase Johnny's. They're gonna turn over the other ruling and give Johnny more time, or add time to Johnny's shit. I'll take that.
Law firm. This is BongBong's attorney. So he says, victim's position on the first instance verdict of Johnny Somali. The law firm Nova, as legal representative of the victim in the Johnny Somali deepfake digital sex crime case, the violation of an act on the punishment of sexual violent crimes, distribution of false video. This is BongBong's attorney, states its position as follows. On April 15th, the Western District Court found Johnny Somali, real name Ramzi Khalid Ismail, guilty on all charges, including obstruction of business and violation of the Sexual Violence Punishment Act, distribution of false video footage, sentenced him to 6 months in prison and ordered his immediate arrest. The immediate arrest of the perpetrator is a significant outcome. The court's clarification that repeated offenses were committed against an unspecified number of people for the purpose of YouTube profit and a degree of disregard for domestic legal order is serious, and it's a clear message that it will not tolerate acts of generating profit by trampling on the characters of others with provocative content. However, and here's the important caveat, it is regrettable that while the court found the defendant guilty of violating the act on the punishment of violence, the distribution of false video material, guys, that means the deepfake charge, it ruled during the sentencing that the victim does not appear to feel humiliation. The fact that the victim, that's BongBong, responded composedly should not be interpreted to mean there was no humiliation. This logic can send a false message to deepfake victims that they must actively express their suffering to have their victimization acknowledged. And I believe the lower sentence compared to the prosecutor's request, 3 years in prison.
So they're saying that, she didn't show any signs of humiliation, right? So she wasn't, she was too calm about, talking about it and explaining everything. She wasn't like showing that she was in distress. And they're saying that just because she was like this doesn't mean that she didn't actually face that kind of not torture, but humiliation. So it gives other real victims the wrong idea. So you need to rethink your ruling, Judge. Damn.
Is not unrelated to this. As a result of consultation with the victim, once again BongBong, we have decided to submit a written opinion requesting an appeal to the competent prosecutor's office. Considering the impact of the court's judgment regarding humiliation will have on sentencing guidelines for future cases, we believe that a ruling from a higher court is absolutely necessary. I hope this ruling will serve as an opportunity to further raise social awareness regarding the infringement of personal rights and deepfake crimes committed using online platforms. As the victim's legal representative, the law firm Nova will faithfully assist in the appeal process and do its utmost to ensure that Johnny Somali receives just punishment commensurate with his crimes. And I could not agree more. So what does this mean in practicality? They're pushing for an appeal. They're actually going to be advocating for that. And when the victim is advocating for an appeal, not just the public, not just people that are interested in this going forward from the outside, like myself and others, but someone who's on the inside with one of the key charges here, this is a massive push for them to actually appeal. So let's assume that they do appeal. The prosecutor does take this recommendation and go to appeal. This can potentially mean double detention under the Korean Criminal Procedures Act. So let me explain this to you. We already have a sentence of 6 months in prison. Now I put a little asterisk there because technically it's 6 months in prison with labor. So that's him working in a factory or cleaning up the prison toilets. That's going to happen for 6 months. He's also got another 20 days detention. So it's really 6 months and 20 days, but let's call it 6 months in prison. On top of that, the court or the criminal procedure allows for another 6 months of custody, up to another 6 months of custody for the first appeal. So just the first appeal. And I'm not going to complicate this by getting into Supreme Court appeals because he can be retained and detained for even longer for the Supreme Court. But just
Bro, imagine this going that far in Korea. Like Johnny's case goes up to the Supreme Court. Oh my God, bro. And I think what he's saying is that while he's going through an appeal, during that time, he has to spend 6 months in detainment. And that's not a part of his regular 6 months prison time. It's separate, it seems. So yeah, he may get out, but he has to still be detained for another 6 months while the appeal goes through. And if the appeal goes through and gives him more time, then they're probably going to add like another 6 months to that he and say that it doesn't it's not part of it's not a part of time served. You know what I'm saying? Just add another 6 months. So then he would have been in there for a year and a half. And then if there's like if the case gets escalated to Supreme Court, wouldn't he have to sit in there in detainment again for like another 6 months or so, up to another 6 months, in order to just sit there and wait? Damn.
For the first appeal, he can be detained another 6 months. So that effectively will double his sentence to 12 months, 1 year in custody. That would be absolutely grand if they can just go ahead and double that. So the appeal itself might
I'm down for
take,
that. Double that shit.
9 months. It might take a year, and they can hold him for that time. And I think that would be absolutely justified and absolutely grand. So here's my judgment. Prosecutors now have overwhelming cause to file an appeal. There's absolutely no reason why they should not or would not file an appeal, and I do expect that to happen in the next week. Also, this appeal...
I mean, isn't BongBong already? Didn't she already appeal? So he's saying the prosecutor should also appeal?
Doubling at a minimum the amount of time Johnny Somali is detained. So this is just assuming that there's an appeal and they don't even win the appeal. But what happens if they win the appeal? Let's say they go back, they appeal it, and he gets 2 years or 3 years.
Okay.
That would be grand, because then they've effectively done a 3x, 4x, 6x, whatever of the time that he was sentenced. So not 6 months, but let's say 2 years, 3 years. That would be awesome if they win. But even if they don't win, they double it at a minimum, and I like those odds. Somali had a plan to blackmail BongBong. He actually called it his Uno reverse.
Oh
but
my
now,
God.
BongBong...
Bro, what the fuck? What? And you called it Uno reverse? Like, all right, time for playing Uno reverse. Like you're some type of diabolical genius, evil villain. Uno reverse? Seriously?
Has done an Uno reverse back to his reverse and hit him with plus 6 months.
Perfect.
She is key to keeping him in there for longer, and that lawyer and BongBong working together to submit that written appeal to push the prosecutor's office is key. So if you guys can support BongBong in this and leave a little positivity for her to encourage her to do that. We all want to see Johnny Somali in there for a just period of time, and the majority of people think 6 months is not enough. So I'm happy to see a potential doubling here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, bro, yes, 6 months or doubled 6 months just because he has to wait through an appeal. I will take that too. That means he has to spend a total of 12 months behind bar, well, in prison, or at least, or not, maybe not in prison, but 6 months in prison and another 6 months in detainment. So away from Korean society, away from society in general. I'm down for that. Do it. Make it happen. Let's go. And if the appeal wins, if they win the appeal and he gets like another 2 or 3 years, yes, please do that to him. Like, he needs to learn his lesson. He's done so much, and he thinks he can always get away with this kind of, you know, attitude, with this kind of pacing, with this kind of interaction with population. Like, bro, if you piss people off, if you fuck around, you will find out. You know what I'm saying? Let's make them find out. But anyway,